Hey, I'm Dave Cottam and I'm here with Libby Salmon from the Floww Technologies. So just to introduce Libby a little bit, basically her product is an amazing product which is all about helping the body deal with the problems of EMF. So I guess, Libby, could you just give us a little brief intro into, well, the problems of EMF, because it's something that we probably not many of us have started to think about, but this is a growing thing in the world.
It sure is. Okay, so EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency, and that radiation and frequencies get output by any electrical gadget. So anything that's phone and Wi-Fi are the big sources these days, and that's why it's becoming a bigger deal. But it also comes from things like the electricity in the walls, the lights, all the electrical things that we use. And there's a point now where we're not going to give up our computers or our phones or our fridges.
Yep.
So there needs to be a way to work with that and live with this radiation. So what you may not know is that the radiation interferes with cell communication, and our stress proteins in particular, it activates those. So what happens for people is they get a series of symptoms that are related to stress, and they're often things like headache or tiredness or sometimes nausea, that kind of thing. And people have different stress responses. So yours might be headaches and mine might be gut stuff or anxiety or that kind of thing. So we don't necessarily pin that back to our phone or our computer.
We'd usually be going like heavy weekend, lack of sleep, too much junk food. Yeah, and I guess it's one of those, and a lot of people will kind of go, oh, well, it's everything these days. Everything gives you cancer, everything makes you sick. But I think the important thing here is that it's awareness that at the moment, people are starting to think about food. Gut health is taking a big, people are really starting to pick up on this. We've got onto sugar. But obviously, this is something that in reality, the junk food is probably reducing, but the use of especially wireless technology is increasing, and for me, alarmingly most around the home and schools where kids are.
Yeah, and what Floww does is it changes the effect of that radiation on the body. So, for example, the mobile Floww sticks on the back of your phone, and it creates a field that's made up of natural frequencies that the body can actually process. So it helps the body to deal with that radiation, and as a result, you see less of an effect and an impact from that. And it's that reduction in the impact that makes a difference. So,
and I think the interesting thing to go, oh, how does this all work? I mean, this is one of the things that really kicks it for me. I mean, like microwaves and that kind of stuff. You've seen a microwave can power a light bulb. I don't have my microwave in the house, it lives in the garage. But I think the interesting thing with these things is like Libby said, it's emitting a frequency, but they're actually powered by the radiation, which that in itself you look and go, well, if it's powering this to emit a frequency, what's it doing to our bodies?
That's right. And if you think about it now, there are things that use the Wi-Fi and everything to charge phones. So there's that technology around, and that's exactly what Flow's doing. So it's using the ambient energy and the radiation that's surrounding us to power the circuit inside the devices, to run those circuits to put out a natural field. So it's working with the radiation to put out a natural field that the body can process. So it's like your own little bubble. I use a bubble because people, when I say field, people kind of don't get that idea quite so well. So
I think the thing to kind of understand, and this is one of the things I really didn't quite get at once, it's kind of like the bad radiation, if we call it, is kind of reprogramming your cells or disturbing your cells so that they're not working correctly. Now, just to understand what these are, it's not so much blocking the radiation, but more emitting another frequency, which is kind of telling your cells to, forget about what this stuff's telling you. This is how you want to be, which is the harmonizing effect, right?
That's exactly right. So the field
idiot's guide to it.
The field is like a natural field. We evolved with fields. The Earth has a field, the Sun has a field, people have fields.
Yep.
And so we actually need fields to function, but the man-made fields interfere with that.
Yep.
So by putting a natural field around us, our bodies can resonate with that and recognize that field, and they're sort of not paying attention to the man-made field, because the man-made fields they're not in synchronicity with our bodies.
It's almost like it's a different language, like it's noise you can hear, but it's a different language.
That's
so there's
right.
like noise in the crowd, and if there's no other noise, that's the only noise. But if you hear a language that you understand, you can kind of tune out the other languages and hear that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And then there's the personal flow. So these are the ones, that's the men's one. So it's slightly bigger than the women's. So this small one's for women and children under 12. And that's the men's one. And that they both create a bubble, a field of about a 2-meter diameter. So when you go out in the world, it's like having your own little bubble with you to make a natural field, and people just feel better. The biggest differences people notice are better sleep and more energy.
And do you want to give us the sort of brief synopsis of your story of how you got into this stuff?
Well, I came across this about 6 years ago, and I got distribution about a bit over 4 years ago. And because I understood what was happening and how the EMF impacts us, I just thought I would go out and talk to naturopaths and complementary practitioners, because I knew trying to get into the medical doctors was going to be a bit of a leap. And what I found was there wasn't that awareness in complementary practitioners even, really. Some people knew, but not very many, and not enough to make a difference. So then I had to do a bit of a rethink. And then about 2 years ago now almost, I came across InnerOrigin, and that was when it was like opening a whole door to a community that was interested and open to the possibility that this could have an impact. And then that's given me the opportunity to educate people about why we need to be doing something about it and some ways to do that, and then to also, start purchasing Floww products to help themselves and their children and improve your health.
And what are like a couple of the success stories, where people have had something where they've maybe gone, oh, I've tried everything, or they wouldn't have put it down to this, and then they've used the Floww and had to feel great.
Okay, well, when my daughter, my first things, of course, was I wanted to protect my family, so I got her a mobile Floww to start with, and she was 21, 22 at that stage, and working in Malaysia. So I posted it across to her, and about 3 or 4 weeks later I was talking to her, and she said, "Hey Mum, you know that thing you sent me?"
Which thing?
Which thing? And she said, "The thing you stick on your phone." I went, okay, the mobile Floww. And she said, "I don't get headaches when I talk on the phone anymore." And I looked and I thought, "What do you mean you got headaches?" And she said, "I just thought it was normal." And that was a real eye-opener for me.
Wow.
Because and I think she also had a bit of an idea that because I'm a mother, I might have actually confiscated her phone.
Yep.
But she had no idea that maybe that wasn't how phones worked.
Yep.
So that was one of those things where, okay. Another lady with the mobile phone it's pretty much transformed her tinnitus. And I'm not saying that everybody with tinnitus is going to get a change, but for her, she wasn't expecting that. She just knew that she was on the phone a lot and needed to do something about that. And she said about 3 or 4 weeks after she got the mobile Floww, she was getting into bed one night, which is when she noticed it the most, when everything was quiet. And she was kind of going, "It's gone."
Yeah.
So she still gets it sometimes coming back, but nothing to the degree that she used to, and not as frequently. So, which is a great story.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then with the personal Floww, there's a couple of stories. I won't try to bore you, but there was a woman who actually last conference came across the personal Floww and bought one a few weeks after the conference because her integrative doctor basically said, "You need one of these."
Yep.
And so she got it and didn't think it was carrying it with her, didn't really think a lot about it, and then got an email from her doctor saying, "Okay, so how are you going?" And she sort of went, "Oh, well, I don't have my insomnia anymore, and I don't have my vertigo anymore, and I don't have those heart palpitations."
Yep.
So a lot of things had changed in her life, but she hadn't recognize
notice,
that
yeah.
because it's subtle and it's slower. So
Some of these things people deal with aren't chronic. You know, people deal with some things that they're just niggly, but are the kind of precursors to being sick. I mean, I look at this and I just think, you know, that there's a lot of things that we don't think about that people go, oh yeah, it's another thing. But over time we've learned with most of these things, eventually they come mainstream and everyone starts to think about it. And I think this is one of those things that if you're invested in your health and constantly improving your health and thinking about your kids and all that kind of stuff, it's one of those things that for me will become massive. You know, like they say perfume will become the next second-hand smoking.
Yeah.
I believe this will be the same, that given another 5-10 years, everyone will be on this. But you think how much, if you don't invest in something like this, how much are you damaged day to day when this EMF pollution is rising all the time?
And
it isn't slowing down.
It's not going to go away.
And it's in fact getting worse, isn't it, with the higher powered like mobile phones with the 4G and all that stuff. They're actually higher power frequencies, aren't they, than the original?
Just more.
GSM.
More.
So there's just more of it.
Yeah, so the 5G that's coming is more towers closer together. So it will be stronger because there are more towers.
Just by proximity and amount of towers. Yeah, so I mean, all the stuff we just don't think of. We all want better phone, but at what price? Right. And I think that's it, isn't it? There's always a price.
That's right. But the thing you need to know also about these is they're designed to last your lifetime. So I was just saying to someone, well, if you pretended it had a 10-year lifespan, and you divide the price by 10, it's less than $1 a week. Yeah. Which is not expensive.
Yeah. And that's it. I guess the thing is these aren't, you know, they're not expensive, they're not cheap, but for the people who are interested in the health, then it's that next step to optimum health, isn't it? And especially like with the home flows, there's also these which are for the home, which protect your entire home. So
yep, they come as a kit, and you just place these two in the corners, like the diagonal corners of your home, and there's a couple of other little aerials that we don't have here that go on where the water and electricity come into the home, and you attach those to those because that then creates the field around the home.
There you go. I didn't know that. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. You know, just something to think about, and at least even if it's not immediately you take action on this kind of stuff, just something to really start thinking about reducing that you know, the radio around you. I turn my phone off at night. I think we should all do that.
Put it into airplane mode. Use it as an alarm.
Yeah, or when you're out on a night out or whatever, I put mine into airplane mode when I'm not using it. There's all these things, you know, that we can do. But if you're really interested, so how much are these things?
So $525.
Yep.
So which, like I said, you know, by the time you divide that, it's less than $1 a week. Less than $1 a week.
Yeah, or $1 a day for a year and a bit, you know, which is nothing.
That's right, which is nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And what about the mobile flows?
The mobile ones are $97, so really a good investment.
As a first step, just to see.
Great for a first step.
If you haven't got, and I'd 100%, for me, my personal thing, one of these things, we had one and I had a friend who was talking on his iPhone and he was like, man, this is hot. You know, just put one of these things on it and it was like cold. It was like almost immediately, you know, you look and go.
So that's the effect from the body mostly. That's what the body response is, it feels hot on the body, not so much.
Well, there you go, like might have been his head, you know.
Yeah, that's right. It's his body response that makes it feel hot.
Yeah.
So his head is feeling the heat, not necessarily that the phone is really hot.
Yeah, wow. Well, there you go. So your head's like cooking basically, isn't it? And what about the home flow?
$2,545, which when you start dividing that up, because that also lasts your lifetime. When I met the inventor, he said, you buy two, you buy the personal flow, you take it with you to your grave, and you buy the home flow and you leave it in your will to your children.
I think at the end of the day, I look at that kind of stuff and go, people go to Bali or over east or whatever for a weekend, and you spend that much, you know, and at the end of the day, we're not going to go giving our kids a couple $100 worth of one of these things, but you know, them in the home, at least we can protect kids
That's
in
right.
the home, you know, because
And when
it's
you're
tough at school.
sleeping is when you heal. So
Yeah.
if you've got it in your home, it's actually helping the body heal at night, which means that when you go out in the world each day, you're at the best you possibly
Yeah,
can
so it
be.
should be going 2/3 of your life or your time, basically. At least you're in a protected environment to allow your body to
Yeah.
be out of that stress.
Yep, that's right.
Awesome.
Exactly.
So I go, right, well, she's awesome, she's amazing. This was probably like only a snippet of the information that we hear when we get a full presentation about this stuff. But thank you for that.
My pleasure, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.